The Lord be with you and your loved ones. Throughout this week, with the exception of yesterday when we celebrated special readings for the feast of the birth of John the Baptist, throughout this week our first reading has had a somber tone because it tells the very sad story of the exile of the northern and southern kingdoms of Israel. The northern kingdom, which was made up of the 10 tribes in the north, were conquered by the Assyrians, and they were carted off into exile. The last 2 of the 12 tribes in Judah were conquered by the Babylonians, and they were carried off to Babylon. It's from there that we understand the Babylonian exile. This was a devastating time for the people of Israel. Devastating because they had been taken away from their homeland. They had their temple destroyed. They had their priesthood abolished. There was no place to worship. There was no sense of a homeland. Indeed, the deported, taken to a land that they did not know, who worshiped a God they did not know, was an enormously challenging time for the people of Israel. It had been predicted by Jeremiah, who told them that their worship of false gods would lead them to a bad end. Just a reminder of what the king did, King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, did when he came to those southern kingdoms. He deported all Jerusalem, all the officers and men of the army, 10,000 in number, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None were left among the people of the land except the poor. Except the poor. That term is used of the family of Jesus and the disciples of Jesus who lived in the northern, in Galilee. The Anawim. The Anawim are the ones that were left over, the ones that were left behind, while everyone else was taken off into exile. This reading today can certainly remind us of the millions of people who have been taken from their homes in our own time, those who have been exiled. We think of the many people from Syria who have lost their lives fleeing the civil war that's there. We think of the countless places throughout the world. There are millions of people who are exiled. And so we, in a special way, pray for the refugees of our time, the exiles of our time, whether they are in Europe or seeking to flee the brutal dictators of Central America, whether they are coming to our shores and to the shores of other countries, that we welcome them and that we show to them the hospitality that is shown to us in Christ. One simple word about the gospel for today. Once the people of Israel had been taken off into exile, they were about the business of living their life as Jews. And today's gospel, we come to the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And in a sense, Jesus is reminding his listeners that, like the people of Israel who were sent into exile and were told to keep their houses built upon rock, to stay faithful even in the midst of deportation, we find Jesus saying to his disciples, you, listening to my teachings, build your house upon rock. Let your faith be firm, even when the winds blow and the storms come upon you. Build your house on the rock of my word, and you have no fear. May God bless our exiles. God bless all of those who have been driven from their homes, that they might find comfort and welcome by Christian communities throughout the world. And may each one of us build our house upon the rock of faith.